Hey guys, Crypto Dad here again, and today I'm going to talk about Ledger Recover. Ledger Recover is a service offered by Ledger.com which allows you to back up your Ledger device to the cloud for safe storage in case something happens to your device or your local 24-word backup phrase. There's been a lot of controversy surrounding this service. I'm going to talk about exactly what this service is, how it works. I'll talk about the objections that a lot of people have raised about this service, and then we'll go through the pros and cons in a rational way and determine whether or not you should use the Ledger Recover service. So let's get started. All right, so I'm on the home page of the Ledger Recover service. I'll put a link to this down in the description in case you want to find out more on your own. So I've also linked to a lot of information from Ledger describing this service in great detail. They have a series of white papers that they released talking about how the service works, how it splits up your private key into pieces and stores them in the cloud with different providers. They talk about the security measures that they take, and they also talk a lot about how your digital ID is stored. This ensures that it is only you who can initiate a restore. A lot of people are worried that these private keys being stored online are subject to government subpoenas. Even if they were, it would be useless to the government because the keys are encrypted. They can only be decrypted by the user employing this process. All of these concerns that people are raising are addressed in these white papers. Also, I provided links to the companies that are involved in this. COINCOVER is the main company. They are really the ones that are in charge of this process overall. They are one of the three companies that will be storing a piece of your private key. The other two are Ledger, of course, and then ESCROWTECH. So you can find out more about these three companies. They are spread out across countries. If I'm not mistaken, COINCOVER is based in the UK, Ledger is based in France, and ESCROWTECH is based in the US. Also, as I mentioned, the digital ID is a big part of this. The digital ID is managed by COINCOVER and another company called TESSI. And both of these companies are relying on third-party companies, respectively ONFIDO and VERIDAS, for actually managing the biometric information. So I wanted to kind of make you aware of this information before I go into this quick presentation. So what is Ledger Recover? Ledger Recover is a backup service offered by Ledger.com that allows you to back up your private key of your Ledger device for cloud storage in case something happens to your device and or your backup. Why does Ledger offer this service? Well, one of the main reasons Ledger has decided to offer this service is that their tech support department is on a daily basis dealing with a lot of people that have lost access to their crypto because they lost access to their device and their 24-word backup phrase. This can be very frustrating. A lot of people have lost their life savings because of these issues. And of course, a lot of people have lost access to life-changing wealth because of this problem. So this is the main problem that the Ledger Recover service is addressing by giving the end user a secondary way to back up their private key in case they lose their device and their local backup. Also, Ledger wants to appeal to a broader customer base. A lot of people aren't familiar with self-custody. They're not comfortable managing their own private keys. and they need a little extra security of having an offline backup that they can rely on if they need it. Also, Ledger wants to increase their revenue by offering a subscription service. It makes sense. Ledger, when they sell a device, it's a one-off sale. Most people will buy a Ledger device and then Ledger never hears from them again. So because of this issue with their tech support and people that need help managing their device, they've decided to offer a subscription-based service that will increase their revenue and allow them to offer additional service to their users. Now, why do so many people object to this service? I did a video covering most of these issues. Basically, a lot of people don't trust Ledger anymore. They think they're compromised. I covered this in pretty good detail in that video. You might want to check it out for a deep dive into this subject matter. I personally feel that a lot of these objections can be addressed. A lot of people don't agree with me, so I invite you to check out that video. It's pretty engaging. There's a lot of comments back and forth in the comments section. So if you're concerned about these issues, I would invite you to check out that video. But I will just briefly go over them. Ledger Recover is antithetical to the principle of self-custody. A lot of people object to Ledger Recover because it violates the spirit of crypto self-custody. You should manage your own wallet, set your wallet up on your own, write down your seed phrase, and manage it on your own. And the fact that people are now able to delegate the management of the private key to a third party kind of upsets their sensibility. This is more of a philosophical objection. A lot of people just don't trust Ledger Recover. They feel it is a way for Ledger to gain access to their crypto or their private key, or they don't think that the service works properly. Now, I mentioned all of those white papers earlier. I invite you to read those white papers if you think that this service doesn't work, because upon further investigation, Ledger makes a pretty good case about the security and functionality of this service. A lot of people believe that Ledger Recover introduces security risks. They feel that even though the service is completely optional, the fact that Ledger had to update their firmware to allow the functionality of this service introduces risks into the system. Now, none of these security risks have ever been documented. There have been no documented cases of anyone losing crypto due to these security risks in the device. And the devices are tested by third parties rigorously. They have internal and external testing of these devices, which would have uncovered any of these issues. Now, a lot of people will tell you that they don't trust Ledger because Ledger lied. This is a big objection online that I've seen quite a bit in my comment sections. They feel that Ledger misrepresented their device by telling people that the private keys never leave the device and that it is impossible for the private keys to leave the device. The device still works as it was designed. It does store your private key offline. It still never leaves the device when you're signing transactions, but they just have added the additional functionality of optionally allowing a user to export their private key for safe and secure cloud storage. Whether or not this is Ledger lying is basically an opinion issue. But you're going to hear this argument a lot. Ledger lied about the functionality of their device, and you should no longer trust Ledger. As I mentioned, I covered most of these issues in my previous video. I'm going to lay these objections aside and go over the pros and cons. We're just going to assume that the device is still secure and that Ledger Recover works. That might be a leap for some of you, but I think it's a good way to objectively look at the pros and cons. All right, so why should you use Ledger Recover? The first reason why is that it's an extra backup, and an extra backup never hurts, right? This is just a general way to go through life. Always have a backup, and a little extra backup can never hurt. But really, the main reason why you should use Ledger Recover is that your 24-word backup could get lost, stolen, or damaged. We're all human. We all make mistakes. We misplace things. And if you use a Ledger device and you're storing a bunch of crypto, your device gets lost or damaged, and then you can't find your backup, it's really a horrible feeling to lose access to your crypto. And if you use the Ledger Recover service, you have that additional resource that would allow you to regain access to your crypto. Also, the device may become unusable due to lack of updates. A lot of people throw their device in the drawer for years. They don't realize they need to keep it up to date. And then when they pull it out, it's no longer usable. And because it's too far behind on firmware updates. So I have dealt with people who have pulled out their device and discovered that it was unusable and then couldn't locate their seed phrase and were rightfully upset at Ledger because they thought they could just put the device in a drawer and it would always give them access to their crypto. Life is not that simple. Self-custody is not that simple. But if you have Ledger Recover, you could always get yourself a new device and restore access to your crypto. So Ledger Recover would be a solution to this issue. Now, another thing that comes up a lot, and I've dealt with quite a bit, is some people lose access to their device, and then when they go to use their backup phrase, they discover that it is invalid or it doesn't give them access to the crypto that they stored. And this could be for a number of reasons, usually because they wrote the seed phrase down incorrectly. You might transpose some letters, transpose some words. You might see the word power and write down the word powder. There's a lot of things that can happen that would cause you to write down your backup phrase incorrectly. And if this happens, then you've basically lost access to your crypto. When you use Ledger Recover is not going to make any mistakes. It will back up the private key, the actual private key, and there won't be any human error involved in that process. So those are all really compelling reasons to use Ledger Recover. What are some reasons that you might choose not to use Ledger Recover? Well, the first reason would be it costs money. So, and this could add up over time, over months, over years. So whether or not you really need this service, you'll have to evaluate it, whether you think it's worth spending the money on. You might decide that you would prefer to simply write down your seed phrase and manage it on your own. Also, the service requires you to back up your biometrics to the cloud. This is part of the process of how the service works. This ensures that only the end user has access to the recovery service. But personally, I find this a little bit creepy. I talked about some of the companies that actually manage this digital ID, this biometric information, but not only does it feel a little creepy to me, but there's really no way of knowing whether it would be safe from data breaches or government subpoenas, right? So the government might want to subpoena one of these companies to gain access to my biometrics, and that really makes me feel uncomfortable. But while we're on that subject, one of the objections people have to the service is that although the private keys might be safe, your privacy would be compromised. In other words, by using this service, you have tied your identity to your crypto. So if the government were to subpoena COINCOVER, a key escrow, or Ledger for their records, they would be able to see that you do in fact have crypto, and that you are using their backup service. And although they would not have access to your private key, they would know that you own crypto, and it would be trivial for them to, if they decided to target you, to most likely determine the public addresses of your crypto. So most people want to keep the fact that they own crypto as secret as possible. And so they could go into, say, Best Buy and buy a device with cash and kind of keep the fact that they own crypto as private as possible, even though the blockchains are public. They're trying to minimize that public information available. So using Ledger Recover is basically just another attack surface for the government or law enforcement to determine that you own crypto. So that might be a reason why you would not want to use Ledger Recover. And once again, there's that moral objection. It's antithetical to the principle of self-custody. A lot of current crypto users object to this. Maybe newer users wouldn't worry too much about this, but it really is not self-custody when you're using a third party to manage your private keys. So if you're a crypto purist, you probably would not want to use this service. This might also be a good time to bring up the fact that the face of self-custody is changing. It's evolving. There are a lot of new people coming into the space, a lot of people that are interested in crypto. Crypto's becoming more mainstream. And so the self-custody industry is adapting to this new customer base. Coinbase has a smart wallet which does not need a backup key. It relies entirely on passkey technology. There are several hardware wallet companies out there that don't have backup phrases, that use multi-device authentication. And so a lot of people are demanding an easier way to self-custody crypto. Now, Ledger is one of the first traditional hardware wallet companies to offer an online backup solution to their customer base, and they probably won't be the last. So we need to be aware that the customer base is changing and the customer needs are changing, and so the concept and the implementation of self-custody is evolving in order to accommodate these new customers. So we need to keep this in mind when we're talking about these types of backup services. Okay, so I did my best to cover all of the issues that you might have for or against using Ledger Recover. Please join in. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on a lot of these points. There's just this narrative out there of bashing Ledger without really going into any evidence or specifics. And it scares a lot of newcomers. So I wanted to try to give you as much information as possible for you to make an informed decision rather than being swayed by emotional arguments. If you have any questions about anything I did, please throw them up in the comments and I'll do my best to get them answered. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, I would appreciate it. When you subscribe, there's a little bell that you can click that will allow you to be alerted whenever I post new content. Once again, thanks for joining me and hope to see you again soon.